Welcome to Workforce Talks, a podcast by the National Work Readiness Council. We tell stories to inspire career pathways across America. Follow along at NWRC.org. Now, here's your host, Reecie Stagnolia.
Good morning. I'm Reecie Stagnolia, Executive Director of the National Work Readiness Council, and I also serve on the Council of Advisors for the National Career Pathways Network. Just a bit about my background. In phase one of my career, I led Kentucky's adult education system, serving as the State Director of Adult Education and the Vice President for Adult Education at the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education, and also with the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet. I was also fortunate to serve 2 terms as chairman of the National Association of State Directors of Adult Education. And in that role, I had the opportunity to serve on the COA board. And there's where I first met and crossed paths with and got to know today's guest, Jeff Abramowitz. I'll introduce Jeff in a moment, but first, let me tell you a little bit about the National Work Readiness Council. It's a national nonprofit workforce development, training, and advocacy organization formed in 2003 and officially incorporated in 2007 by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Our focus is defining the skills needed by workers across all industries to ensure the workforce is equipped with the necessary knowledge and skills to meet the demands of the ever-changing job market. The National Work Readiness Council seeks to identify skill gaps and partner with education and training providers to bridge those gaps. The initial vision was to identify entry-level foundational skills that job seekers need to pursue career pathways. The council convened employers across industries, chambers of commerce, unions, educators, and workforce training professionals nationwide and build a common language and standards to define foundational career readiness. We have state-level partnerships in South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, New York, Florida, and Michigan, supported by our partner, Win Learning. And we proudly endorse their credentials and a value in academic skills, soft skills, and digital skills. Now let me introduce today's guest, Jeff Abramowitz.
Hey, Reece, how are you?
Great. Glad to have you as our guest today. Let me just share briefly a little bit about you and your background. Jeff is the CEO of the Petey Greene Program and the Hutt-Kammer Center for Educational Justice. Jeff sits on several organization boards and centers his work in the intersection of adult education, workforce development, and justice. He's the past executive director of the Justice Partnerships and executive director of Reentry Services for the JEVS Human Services, and was the founder and program director of Looking Forward Philadelphia Reentry Program. He's previously served as co-chair of the Reentry Program of the Pennsylvania Workforce Development Board, chair of the Philadelphia Reentry Coalition, and as a board member of COA. He currently co-chairs the State Advocates for Adult Education Fellowship Program and is the chair of the Public Policy Committee. He is also a member of the Fair Chance Business Consortium and vice chair of Philly Trust Foundation. So, Jeff, so glad to have you as our inaugural guest of Workforce Talks.
I am so excited to be here.
So we're excited to have you. And so first, just wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself from the perspective of your role with the Petey Greene Program, and just tell us a little bit about the Petey Greene Program and what that's all about.
Yeah, sure. So I guess, well, thank you for the introduction. And those are all things that I did, but they're not things that I am. So I guess I want to start by giving you a little bit of background so you understand the context of the work that I do. But I was a trial lawyer for most of my professional career. And for 20 years, I was in the courtrooms in Philadelphia, New Jersey, and before the Supreme Court in Washington, and then made some horrible choices in life that handed me a federal indictment. I ended up taking responsibility for financial crime and spending 5 years in a federal prison. I'm home 10 years, but during that journey through the criminal legal systems, I found my passion for education and how important it was to work with those men and women that are justice impacted and in our criminal legal systems, and help them figure out the importance of education and a career pathway to success. So I've been home 10 years. My first job while I was living in a homeless shelter was teaching GED math. And then within months, I became a director, what's now the largest adult literacy agency in Pennsylvania. And then after that, became an executive director of a workforce agency in Philadelphia that oversaw our American Job Centers in Philadelphia, and saw all the programs that they were involved in behind the walls. I oversaw, and then since then, moved to the Petey Greene Program. And the Petey Greene Program is this remarkable organization that is growing at lightning speed, because we are our way I describe it is we help people get smarter, and smarter to me is not just math and reading and fractions and ESL learning. It's also digital literacy and college bridging and helping people make it through and navigating college. And we do this both behind and beyond the walls of our prisons and jails across the country. Our model is using college students. We train them to become volunteers for us, and then we bring them inside so that we can help people reach their academic goals and their career goals. And what's amazing about the organization is it's just filled with passionate people that are not only doing this work, but they're seeing a side of society, especially from the college student end, that they may never often get to see. So it's a blessing. We're growing. We're currently in probably 12 or 13 states, and every day we're bringing on another one, and which is pretty remarkable. But our job is really to help people navigate the criminal legal systems in a way through education, helping make change happen.
So Jeff, I was reading a little bit on your website about the program, and uh, read of great interest that only 20% of formerly incarcerated people have a high school diploma. One third have a GED or high set diploma, and less than 4% have a college degree. Talk a little bit about those numbers and the background from that data analytics point.
Yeah, and there's many of those data points that just show that, how important an education is behind the wall. Like what happens oftentimes in our prisons and jails is we're stuck with a lot of overcrowding, understaffing, and the more that we can help people get smarter, the far better they are at staying out. There's a great statistic that says that if you take one class inside a prison or jail, you're a 43% greater chance of not going back. Now that's pretty remarkable, right?
Wow.
But unfortunately, we don't do enough and we don't center enough on education inside our prisons and jails. And we need to be thinking about not only how we do that inside the walls, but how do we help them when they walk out the door? What does it look like when they're home and trying to get a job and find housing and feed their families and get identification, all the basic things that they need? There are over 44,000 barriers to people that return home from prison and jail. And we just have to do a better job helping people chip away at those barriers. And education and skill training and development really needs to be a central part of that. One of the things I often say is that, helping someone get a job when they come home from prison or jail is not really the answer. We need to help people find a career, something that they really love to do. Because if you put them in a fast food restaurant and they really don't want to be there, how long do you think they're going to stay there?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and talking about employment opportunities, what the other point I read was the unemployment rates for formerly incarcerated individuals are range from 25 to 60%. And that's substantial.
it really is. We're starting to do a better job, I think, understanding that there's this incredible untapped talent pool that's in our country, and they just have a criminal background. They have something, a choice that they made in their life, but that doesn't mean that they can't be amazing workers, driving tractor trailers, working in every industry sector. And we're starting to open the doors up a little bit wider. to individuals that have a criminal past, but we're just not there yet. And states have things like ban the box, where they ask people employers not to ask the question, have you ever been incarcerated before? And do you have a criminal background? But hiring people really on skill. And that's what we have to be focused on.
Well, as you talk about chances, and in this case, second chances, I often think about, sometimes society is not very forgiving from that perspective. And then you have to reflect on a little bit on your own life, and as you and I do, and think about, wow, we've all made bad choices in our lives. I know I've probably been given second, third, fourth, fifth chances, as we all have. So, hopefully society becomes a little more forgiving, and employers become a little more forgiving as individuals emerge from being incarcerated, and give them opportunities to re-engage in the workforce and to be productive citizens, and to provide a family sustaining wage for their families.
Yeah, I love that. Reecie, Einstein said, if we make 10 bad choices a day, you're just not trying hard enough. And that's because that's how we learn. We do things, we don't do them so well, we come back and do them a different way. And I think you're right. I think society needs to understand that it's not about second chances. It's about third, fourth, fifth chances or more. I was with a gentleman. I'd been on this West Coast tour recently, and I was with a gentleman in Seattle who now serves as the ombudsman for the Department of Corrections in Washington, and for the state and Department of Corrections. And this young man was 14 years old when he was involved in an incident that put him in prison for life. And under some recent court decisions, he was able to come out. But at 14 years old, man, I'm not real sure that people deserve to get life sentences. And that we should be thinking about all the men and women that are incarcerated, and really the skill that they could bring. We currently have more jobs in our country than we have people to fill them. And for us not to understand that there's this talent pool out there that we should be talking to and considering is just shame on us.
Even individuals that are on probation and parole. I know in my past work in Kentucky, we identified that there were 48,000 individuals that were on probation and parole, and a third of them, nearly 16,000, lacked a high school equivalency diploma. And that makes it so challenging for individuals that end up, churning in that low end economy from one, fast food or retail job to another. And so, we know with the more you learn, the more you earn, and opportunities to engage in meaningful employment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think these learn to work models like an IET, the integrated education training model, really makes a lot of good sense, because those are programs where you're learning math and reading in the same classroom where you're learning welding and you're learning the skill trade. And then you throw some career preparedness on top of that. And that's just a great model. And we're seeing a lot of money invested right now in apprenticeships, and everyone focusing on these apprenticeships dollars that are coming down. And quite frankly, I get a little concerned. I did a webinar last week on Apprenticeships for America, sponsored it. And we talked about apprenticeships in the justice space. And I'm really kind of concerned that we're not focusing on apprenticeships behind the walls and helping people come home and getting them into those apprenticeship programs. So I think there are some things that we could be doing and thinking about as far as helping people get back on the track. I would suggest one thing, though, to everybody out there, that there's a great line by Walt Whitman. He said, the world would be a better place if we were all curious and not judgmental. And I think one of the things we need to do as we work with people coming home and behind the walls is really be curious and ask questions about, why, the why. Why can't you get a job? Maybe it's because you don't have digital literacy skills and you don't know how to get your resume on a computer, or have a Gmail account, or have identification. For some people, when I was teaching, women, it was a challenge just to get feminine products when they came home. So really asking those deep questions of why, and understanding the barriers that people have, will help us go a long way to making them understand there's a pathway to success, and we just need to chip away. And this is going to take a village. It's going to take people from the social networks, from communities, from our government agencies, all joining together and saying we need to figure this out together.
Yeah, it's interesting your point regarding curiosity. That's one of the top job skills that folks are looking at today, is individuals that have curiosity about learning. And but I want to come back to your point on pre-apprenticeship and particularly in the workforce development, the adult education arena. So many individuals lack the foundational skills, soft skills, digital skills to even enter an apprenticeship program. And there's a great opportunity for the adult education workforce development system to be a provider of choice for pre-apprenticeship on the pathway to being eligible to enter an apprenticeship program. And then for IETs, I think about, the workforce preparation component. And, the National Work Readiness Council endorses a soft skills credential. That's a great opportunity through our partner, Win Learning, to provide those soft skills as the workforce preparation component of an IET.
Yeah, so Reese, no, I completely agree. And when it comes to soft skills, I don't even use the term because there's nothing soft about them for
Yeah.
people that are incarcerated. They're really essential skills, and things like being on time and looking someone in the eye and giving them a handshake. And these are skills that oftentimes in the prison setting are not really there. We in that environment, for a lot of people that have been incarcerated, it's a whole different culture. And coming home also means gaining some responsibility, but understanding that, in prison and jail, it's a different culture. And when you come home, you're now tied to a cell phone, and you have to learn how to use some of the technology that's out there that's coming through. The truth is that a lot of those skills are things that people they have to learn again. The other thing is when it comes to math and reading and basic education skills, I call it the and then what. Like when you go through a program, whether it's a pre-apprenticeship program or you get your high school diploma, we need to have those words in the forefront of our head, which are and then what? Like what happens next when you get that high school diploma? Then what? Like what are you thinking? Where are we going to guide you to when you walk out the door of prison? Then what? We need to be thinking about the and then what when we talk about adult education and we talk about workforce development, because we need to put those pieces together and guide people to the successful careers that are out there, and let them see. Look, I came home, I was teaching GED math, Reese, for $7 an hour. Now I knew I needed to start somewhere. Like I knew I did. And I also knew at some point in my life I wanted it. I wanted to have an impact nationally and help people get smarter. And the only way I could do that by was learning what happened on the ground, being in the classroom, with seeing the challenges that marginalized populations and non-English speaking learners were going through. And now you know what I do? I was in San Francisco. I put on 10 miles walking around the city, just going into places, adult literacy places and shelters, and trying to learn, what's going on the ground. What is it that we should be seeing? How can we help better? And what we're seeing now, honestly, is we're seeing ESL programming, and that's just not happening because people are afraid. They're afraid to go into those classrooms today because they're afraid that someone's going to find them. There's this whole culture inside of a prison that you get when you come home that it's really hard to explain. But I can share a story with you. This during COVID, we got 1,000 cell phones donated to us by T-Mobile. And T-Mobile said, here's all these cell phones, help the men and women coming home. And we gave them cell phones. They had free service for a year. It's wonderful. And we went back and asked the individuals, like, how's it going? Like, how you doing with your cell phone? Do you learn how to use it? Or you have any challenges? 85% sold them. 85% sold them. And that it wasn't enough. Like I wanted to understand, well, why would you sell them? You got free service for a year, a brand new phone. They sold them because they thought they were being tracked. They were being handed a cell phone when they walked out of the prison. It was already pre-programmed, and they thought it was a way for the government to track them. And
Mm.
that's something I just didn't see. Like I just didn't see it. So I think those lessons are there. We have to have people that are justice impacted at the table when we make these decisions, when we're doing our programming. If you're an adult educator or a workforce developer, you should be having somebody that's just come home from prison or that's been home or done some time away. You should be at that programming table and with their lens, let them guide you and say, no, you don't understand. They may not have identification when they come home. They may not be able to do it because they have to check in with their probation or parole officer. Like there's a whole litany of things that we don't see because we've never been in that system. So invite them to the table.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things you can do.
One of the things as you talk about the returning home is, entering sort of in a foundational level job that, individuals really struggle to make ends meet and in individuals. And we talk often from a policy perspective around the benefits cliff. And, so many individuals, sometimes don't pursue additional education and training because they lose their benefits. And so there's got to be sort of a crossroads of sort of an equilibrium as wages increase, your benefits decrease till you reach that point of equilibrium, if you will, that individuals just don't lose all their benefits by choosing to obtain additional education and training, but end up in an entry level job as a result of it.
Wow, that is so true. So there's so many points that you raised in just that one statement. One is that, many individuals that are going through our criminal legal systems have healthcare issues or healthcare related issues, have behavioral health issues, have addiction support issues, and oftentimes they're juggling that because they may not have benefits coming home to be able to take care of them, and they really struggle when they get into the job, into employment, really being able to take care of that. I'm really super proud. We recently, in December, the Petey Greene Program hired a teacher inside of the main prison system who's currently serving 10 years. He's currently serving 10 years, and yet he's making a full-time salary. He's on all of our calls. He's able to connect with us on phone calls and meetings, and the main system is the Department of Corrections has allowed him to be our credible messenger inside, and is teaching classes. So when there's a lockdown or something going on in the facility, learning is still going on. We still have our instructors right inside because he'll be there for a little bit. So it's not that we can't do it, Reece. It's we can do it. We just have to want to do it. We have to will to do it. And a lot of that is through advocacy work. And super proud of the work you guys are doing and proud to be on the National Workforce Readiness Council because you just have a team of rock stars on there. And I sit back every time and I just shake my head when I'm in those rooms because I kind of am that voice, that justice voice that's at the table. But I know I am currently the strategic director of strategic initiatives for COABE, the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. And if you haven't or you're not aware of COABE, just go on to coabe.org. But it's the adult education advocacy arm in our country, and they're a wonderful organization. But I mean, I sat around your table at our board meetings, and I sit around and see people like Scott Stump. He used to be Assistant Secretary of Department of Education, and Sharon Bonney and yourself, and people from Win Learning. And it's I'm honored to be at that table. But we need to have more people that are justice impacted at the table. So I don't think have thanked you enough for having me sit there. So thank you.
Yeah, we are honored to have you as one of their board of directors of the National Work Readiness Council for sure, and look forward to, as you mentioned, COABE. We're going to be in Indianapolis in a few weeks at COABE, doing a session there that I'll be moderating, and you'll be one of their panelists. So if you're listening to this and you're coming to COABE, come to our session and learn more about this work that we've been talking about today. Also, real quick, I also want to mention just another policy issue that could have a significant impact on our population we've been talking about is workforce pay. And just if you would talk a minute about what you see there as an opportunity in the future?
That's a huge opportunity. So you should know across our country right now, higher education and prison programs do exist. There are students that are going to college inside of our prisons and jails. Currently, we have a program called a College Bridge Program, which helps people bridge into college, and it actually gives them credits for prerequisite courses. So they're not eating up their Pell dollars before they get to their majors, and they're actually able to get a lot of those classes under their belt without Pell. I think the Workforce Pell initiative is amazing. It could give a lot of opportunity to a lot of people that couldn't afford actually taking some of those workforce related credentials, where they can now get the skill training, whether it's a welder or advanced manufacturing or computer IT, whatever it is. My concern with Workforce Pell is I've had a chance to read the recent regulations that have just come out within the last few weeks, and it's kind of scary. It's a little bit confusing as to some of the parameters of Workforce Pell and how it's going to work. I think it's a great opportunity, but like anything else, the people that are justice impacted need to be thought about as the Workforce Pell is implemented. And are these things actually are they going to be beneficial for people that have just come home from prisons and jails? I definitely think so. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to really get skilled talent, the skilled labor force back in our country by giving them an opportunity to get that paid for in a meaningful way. So I'm looking forward to it.
You mentioned a moment ago about just the shortage of individuals in the employment arena today. That employers are starving for workers, and you think about the idea of behind the walls being able to provide employment behind the walls, and to let those individuals earn wages that are put in an account for them when they're released, to be able to what an opportunity to have a leg up when you are released by having some resources to fall back on that you've earned while there. What an opportunity for a program of innovation there.
It definitely is. And it's not doesn't happen that way, Reese. There's a great article that just came out by the Prison Policy Initiative. It says follow the money. And our correctional education, our correctional systems are all about funding and money. And right now we're understaffed with correctional officers around the country. Really proud that we just got the contract for New York City, and we're launching at Rikers Island. We'll be the only educational support provider on the island right now. And the fact is, one of the challenges they have is just not enough security guards within correctional facilities. So we said, fine, we're just going to put educational pods in every unit, so they don't have to move anybody. There are solutions for a lot of these things that are happening inside the walls, and yet it would be a wonderful thing if we could pay people a little bit more money. I think when I was inside, I was making something like less than $1 an hour while I was working in their manufacturing, their plant that was there on the facility that I was at. It is a real challenge for many people coming home because they don't come home with any funding. They certainly can't send any money home to their family to help support them while they're away. And it's that's just the way the prison industrial complex works right now. And I'm not sure there's any easy solutions to that, but it would be an amazing thing. And I will say this, if we could get people into those pre-apprenticeship programs and then provide them with the leap into the apprenticeship when they walk out the door, or provide them with a credential inside the walls like CDL, and then link them to a job on the outside, man, those are the programs that are amazing. There's a great program in Baltimore called Vehicles for Change. And I love the program because they take donated vehicles from around the Washington, Baltimore area. And then they have a vehicle technician training program that actually fixes the vehicles up. And then they give them back to low income members of the community. And then right adjacent to the training site is this beautiful sales building where the really nicer vehicles they sell. And that's how they pay for the program to run. they're selling the nicer vehicles off at market rate and market value, and then the other vehicles are being given away. We need to think about more programs like that, where we're creative, we're innovative, we're financially self-sustaining, and really giving people an opportunity to grow and to be successful.
Yeah, there's a program in Kentucky that's it's really focused on those that are in addiction recovery, and it's called Second Chance Auto, and it really provides them with the skills to, so think about, they're given a second chance. The vehicle's giving getting a second chance by them repairing it. So it's pretty interesting when you talk about, transformative ideas around policy issues. So I look forward to seeing what changes may be on the horizon in the justice system. Well, Jeff, this has been a great conversation today, and we're so excited to have you as our inaugural guest on Workforce Talks, and look forward to further discussions and our next time we cross paths in Indianapolis. Since this is right in the middle of March Madness, do you have any predictions for NCAA basketball? How's your bracket doing? Or
my bracket fell apart a long time ago. So, but I will say this, Reecie, thank you so much. I wish you the best luck in the podcast. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for to really share what's going on in the country when it comes to workforce development, and the opportunity, but most importantly, for everyone out there to realize that, a lot of this is about education and getting our country smarter. As I say on Capitol Hill all the time, there's two things that we all can agree on in this country. One is that we want to get people smarter, and the second is that we want everybody to be successful and have a career that they love to do. And if we can all agree on that stuff, we'll be a far better country in the long run.
Yeah, well, it's sometimes very challenging to engage in policy transformation. And one of my favorite quotes, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. And so hopefully we are on the cusp of a lot of policy transformation that will lead to greater outcomes for those that we're trying to serve in our system. So again, thanks, Jeff, for spending some time with us today.
My pleasure, Reece.
See you in Indianapolis.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to Workforce Talks. For more career inspiration, follow us on social media. Learn more about the National Work Readiness Council and view the show notes for this episode at nwrc.org.